72 hours to save a man she once swore to destroy. You want me to do what? Oliver stared at her across his apartment at midnight. Hack Victor's communications. If Richard Aldridge is alive, there'll be proof. Financial transfers, messages, something. He's been helping me for a year. Has he? Or has he been using you? Nora set her laptop beside his. You're brilliant at this, Oliver. You hacked building security, accessed my computer remotely. Verify Victor. If he's telling the truth, fine. But if he's lying... Oliver's jaw tightened. Then he opened his laptop. His security is sophisticated. This won't be fast. It took 6 hours. Encrypted emails, offshore financial accounts, layered security Victor had built over years. But Oliver was better. At dawn, Victor's communications opened like a wound. Shell corporations to Victor's accounts. A scanned document, old and creased, attached to a message from 18 months ago. Oliver opened the attachment. Their father's handwriting. David Jensen's letter to Ethan Cross, dated the day before his death. Mr. Cross, I was wrong. Richard showed me the evidence today. 3 years of embezzlement. How he used our friendship. The accounts he drained. You tried to warn me. You tried to save my company. I called you a liar. I authorized transfers Richard said would protect us from your takeover. I helped destroy my own company. I can't live with this knowledge. If you ever meet my children, tell them the truth. You didn't destroy us. My trust in the wrong man did. Tell them you're a phoenix, not a vulture. I wish I'd seen it. David Jensen. The timestamp showed Richard had accessed David's computer remotely the night he died, copied files, took the letter David had written but never sent. Dad knew, Oliver whispered, reading through tears. He knew Ethan tried to help. Nora found more. Financial records showing Richard Aldridge alive in the Cayman Islands. Payments to a document forger 3 weeks ago. Vague references to SEC contingency and final phase. Victor's been lying the entire time, Oliver said, voice breaking. His father destroyed ours and he's been using me to cover it up. 5 a.m. They stood in Ethan's penthouse. Ethan read everything in silence. When he reached David's letter, his hands shook. Your father wrote this the day before he died, he said quietly. Richard hacked his computer and stole it. To use against us, Nora said. If we ever found out the truth, Victor could show us Dad blamed himself. Make us think the guilt killed him, not the betrayal. Marcus arrived within 20 minutes. Ethan had called him immediately. We have 72 hours before Victor files fabricated SEC documents, Ethan said. Show Marcus everything. Marcus reviewed it all, then made a call. My FBI contact says they need Victor on record. The emails are coded. The transfers could be explained away. We need him. Confessing to fraud, admitting the documents are fabricated, confirming Richard is alive. He'll never confess, Oliver said. He will if he thinks he's won. Ethan looked at Oliver. You wear a wire. Meet him. Tell him Nora's wavering, that you need reassurance. Make him think you still trust him. Let him gloat. What if he realizes I'm testing him? Then I go to prison for crimes I didn't commit. Ethan's voice was steady. But you're David Jensen's son. You're smarter than Victor thinks. 48 hours later, Oliver sat in an upscale restaurant, heart pounding. The wire was hidden in his watch. FBI agents listened 2 blocks away, ready to move. Victor arrived in an expensive suit, all charm. You sounded troubled on the phone. What's wrong? Oliver had rehearsed this. Be vulnerable. Play the confused brother. It's Nora. She found old files in Cross's office. Documents saying he tried to warn Dad about financial problems. She's starting to doubt. She's being manipulated, Victor said smoothly, ordering wine. Cross is a master at this. That's what I told her, but she won't listen. Oliver leaned forward. The SEC filing. It's still happening, right? Tomorrow? Tomorrow afternoon. Everything's ready. And Cross will be arrested. Investigated, certainly. Even if charges don't stick, the investigation will destroy his reputation. I'll acquire his major clients within a month. Victor sipped his wine. Your father would want this, Oliver. I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. Oliver kept his voice uncertain. Nora asked if I'd verified your evidence, if I was sure about everything. Victor's eyes narrowed slightly. You doubt me? No. She's my sister. If she's right about anything, your sister is in love with the man who destroyed your family. Victor's tone hardened. My father tried to help yours. When David realized Richard was moving money, he confronted him. The stress of that confrontation contributed to his death. I thought your dad died by suicide after the company collapsed. Victor paused, realized his slip, then smiled. Officially, yes. Presumed dead. His boat was found abandoned. Presumed. Oliver pressed gently. Not confirmed? These things are complicated. Victor drank more wine, getting comfortable. My father did what he had to do. Your father made poor decisions. Cross exploited the situation. That's what vultures do. The SEC documents, Oliver said carefully. They're definitely solid, because if there's any chance they're not, they're perfect. Victor's confidence, fueled by wine and arrogance, made him careless. I had them prepared by the best. Even if Cross proves they're fabricated eventually, you were the one with access to his files. The trail leads to you, not me. Oliver's blood went cold, but he kept his face neutral. Leads to me? Insurance, if anything goes wrong. Victor leaned back. But nothing will. Tomorrow, Ethan, Cross loses everything. The embezzlement investigation dies with his reputation. And my father stays exactly where he is. Safe, comfortable, and very much alive. FBI agents entered. Victor Aldridge, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and obstruction of justice. Victor saw the watch, the wire. His face twisted. You recorded this. Every word, Oliver said. Outside, Ethan waited as Victor was led to a federal vehicle. The SEC filing? Nora asked Marcus. Victor's lawyer had the documents scheduled for electronic submission tomorrow at 2 p.m. FBI seized them an hour ago. Victor's computers, files, everything. And they're coordinating with Cayman Islands authorities to locate Richard Aldridge. Victor passed in handcuffs, saw Ethan. You think you've won. My father will disappear before they find him. Maybe, Ethan said quietly. But your freedom disappeared tonight. And the truth about what really happened to Jensen Technologies is now on federal record. That's enough. Marcus took Oliver aside. You did well. That confession gives us everything we need. Oliver looked at Ethan. I spent 6 years hating you. I nearly destroyed you. You were manipulated by someone who's been perfecting deception since before you were sick. Ethan extended his hand. Your father's letter said I'm a phoenix. Help me prove him right. Cross Acquisitions needs someone who understands what it means to fight for the truth. Oliver took his hand. 3 days after Victor's arrest, federal agents raided his office. They found everything. Forged SEC documents on his computer, communications with the document forger, financial records showing payments from Cayman Islands accounts. The evidence was overwhelming. Richard Aldridge was harder to find. He'd built layers of protection over 6 years. Shell corporations, false identities, offshore accounts designed to hide. But the Cayman Islands had extradition treaties, and the FBI was patient. They found him 4 weeks later in a compound outside Georgetown, living comfortably on money stolen from David Jensen's company. Richard Aldridge was extradited to face charges of embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. 72 years old, finally facing consequences he'd spent 6 years running from. Oliver's legal situation was more complicated. He'd stolen files from cross-acquisitions using Nora's computer. Corporate espionage, even under manipulation, carried penalties. But Ethan refused to press charges. He was a victim, Ethan told the federal prosecutor. Victor Aldridge manipulated a sick, grieving young man for a year. Oliver's cooperation led to arrests on multiple fraud charges. I see no benefit in punishing him further. Oliver received probation and community service. The judge noted his cooperation and status as a manipulation victim in the sentencing. I got off easy, Oliver told Nora afterward. You got a second chance, she corrected. What you do with it is up to you. 6 weeks after that night in the penthouse, Nora stood in Ethan's office at sunset. They'd been carefully professional since Victor's arrest. Polite, distant, dancing around everything unsaid between them. You wanted to see me? Nora asked. Ethan stood by the window, backlit by the city. I wanted to offer you something. Not as a contract, as a choice. What choice? VP of Acquisitions and Restructuring. Partner, not just employee. He turned to face her. Help me build something that honors what your father tried to create. A company that values people over profit. Why me? Because you're brilliant. Because you see solutions no one else sees. Because you understand what it means to fight for something. He paused. And because somewhere between that first morning and now, I fell in love with you. The words hung in the air between them. You arrested me, Nora said, voice shaking. Made me work for you. Suspected me of corporate espionage. I did. I hated you. Planned to destroy you. Lied to you for weeks. You did. And you love me anyway. Not anyway. Because. Ethan moved closer. Because you're loyal and fierce and you never stop fighting for your family. Because when you look at me, you see who I actually am, not the reputation. I fell in love with you too, Nora whispered. Even when I thought I shouldn't. Even when I tried not to. Is that a yes to the partnership? It's a yes to everything. He kissed her then, finally, after months of almost moments, and held breath. The city glittered 40 stories below, and Nora Jensen felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. 6 months later, Cross Acquisitions held a press conference. Ethan stood at the podium with Nora beside him. We're announcing the Jensen Initiative, a program dedicated to rescuing family-owned businesses from predatory practices, internal theft, and corporate exploitation. The program offered forensic accounting, business restructuring, employee protection, and ethical management training. Everything David Jensen's company had needed and never received. My father built something good, Nora told the reporters. Someone he trusted destroyed it. This initiative ensures that never happens to another family. Oliver stood in the back, wearing a Cross Acquisitions badge. After his probation ended, Ethan had offered him a position in IT security. Use your skills to protect companies from the kind of theft that destroyed your father's business. Oliver had accepted. 1 year and 3 days after Nora fell asleep in a vacant apartment, she, Oliver, and Ethan visited the cemetery. They brought David's letter, finally delivered. He'd be proud of what you built, Oliver said quietly. What you're both building. The Jensen Initiative helped its 15th family last week, Nora added. Dad's legacy isn't the company that fell. It's the solution that rose from its ashes. They stood in silence, 3 people connected by tragedy and transformation. That evening, Ethan brought Nora back to his penthouse, the apartment where everything began. I have something for you, he said. A wooden puzzle box sat on the coffee table. Intricate, beautiful, clearly custom-made. Only one exists in the world, Ethan said. I had it commissioned. Nora solved it in 18 minutes, fingers finding patterns the way her father had taught her. Inside was a ring. You told me once that every impossible problem has an elegant solution, Ethan said, kneeling. You were my impossible problem, Nora. How do I trust again? How do I let someone in? How do I build something real instead of just rebuilding companies? That's not very romantic phrasing for a proposal. Then let me try again. He smiled. You're my elegant solution. To loneliness, to cynicism, to building walls instead of bridges. Will you marry me, Nora? Yes, Nora said, crying and laughing at once. Yes to everything. Outside the windows, the city stretched endlessly. A cleaner who fell asleep in a vacant apartment. A billionaire who came home to find his whole world changed. A father's letter that finally found its way home. A brother who chose redemption over revenge. Every impossible problem has an elegant solution. Sometimes that solution is love. Sometimes it's trust. Sometimes it's the courage to rise from ashes and build something new. This is theirs. If this story moved you, tap subscribe and join our community of romantic dreamers. Don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10. Your likes, comments, and shares help us create more cinematic love stories like this one.